guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Blake. If you're new here, welcome. I make videos on freelancing, traveling, mindset, and also things that are just going on in my life. Like for example, I just moved back to the United States, so all of 2023 I was bouncing around. I was traveling to Spain and Argentina. I went to London for a little bit. And for most of 2023, during that year, I moved to Mexico and I was there for about like 7 months, and I actually just recently moved to Denver, Colorado. So this is a whole new chapter for me. I am super excited to embark on this new chapter and to get back into making videos and, creating content on my Twitter at Blakey Codes. Okay, so I started my freelance journey about 4 years ago in 2019. It started really like in an interesting way. I was living in Oregon at one point and I was kind of just fiddling around on Wix, and then from there I sort of time went by and I got really into this nomad sphere and wanted to travel and have a flexible job. So I actually just moved to Vietnam, and I moved to Southeast Asia and then Vietnam, and then I found this coding boot camp, and I did front end and back end development, and I learned React and Node, and I learned all these really interesting frameworks and languages, and I learned so much during that time. And then just from there, I decided to learn, as mentioned, WordPress and Shopify, and kind of change my focus from coding and turn it more into a marketing standpoint. I wanted to focus on how to really level up clients' businesses, especially local businesses. My main focus was really to focus on generating more leads, traffic, and conversions. When I first got into my freelance journey, I did not know what to quote clients at. I had a really hard time figuring out what a good price was. How do I charge for a service like this? And at the time I was super young. I was like 19, I think, 20 years old, quoting clients for $3,000, $4,000 and trying to talk to small business owners. So it was a really interesting time. And now that I'm a little bit older and have been freelancing for a little bit, I have picked up on some sort of nuances of what we have to be, how we should be charging our clients, because nothing is as black and white as we want it to be. Charging a client really varies, and that's kind of what I wanted to get into before we start this video. So I wanted to share that your quote could really depend on the complexity of the project, your plugins, integrations, the time estimated for the project, how long is this going to take, what is the client looking for. So when I showcase my projects to you guys, I really want you to know that each project I'm sharing and that price is very different. And they may all look the same, the sites, or that's something you might think, but the projects were all very different with very different scopes and very different plugin integrations. Some were e-commerce, some were more static websites. So it all varies in terms of a quote. So I really want you to think about this when you are on your client calls and you are about to close with your client and things are getting really, hot and heavy, you could say. You're really getting it and you're about to close this client and send over your proposal. I want you to just really have a good understanding of where your client is at. And I'm not saying to ask them what their budget is directly. I think that's kind of a really weird way to word it, but I would say what are they looking to work with? Do they have an idea? And then from there, I would also talk to people in your online communities, maybe Facebook groups or on Twitter, and try to see what others are charging for a project like this. So you can kind of build an idea and an understanding of how you want to move forward with your client. And then from there, you can send over your proposal, get on another call, close that deal and start the project. So I'm going to show you guys some projects that I have worked on. And, I've really been wanting to do this. I don't really showcase my work, and I've really been wanting to. I kind of been hiding it. So let's just get into that. I'm going to showcase my work and share with you where I found the clients, because I think that's really important also when you're just starting out and you don't know where to go and how to find a good client. So let's get right into it. Welcome. So this is the website I wanted to show you. This is Portland Revive Vintage Collection. This was a pretty large website. It took a lot longer than expected because of the amount of integrations that were needed for this project. So essentially what we had to do was, our client had a bunch of collections that she needed added to her website. And she was originally selling on Etsy, and then from there she needed to open up a second sales channel. So we pointed her out to Shopify. So this site was pretty long in terms of having to go through inventory and make sure that all products had their correct SKUs and that things were set up properly in the back end in terms of where products were being shipped out of and if payment was set up correctly, things like that. So if we just look through the website, we can see that we have an about page and media. So I was able to find this client in a local Facebook group for, I believe it was for women in business in the local city that I was staying in at the time. And like I said, this project did go a lot longer than expected. It was about, I want to say this project probably lasted about 4 months, which is pretty long. And the quote that I gave my client over here was, it was 6,000, and I did that for half up front and then half upon completion. So yes, I wanted to share with you this website. So this was I found my client on a Facebook group, and then from there we connected really well over Zoom. And I remember my client had a bunch of questions, so I remember opening up a Google Doc and answering every single one of her questions, hopping on another call with her, and pretty much going point by point through those questions on how I could help her and assist her in this project. So like I said, this was a $6,000 website. All right, let's look at our second website. So this is Janet Brooke Boutique. This is a Shopify website. I wanted to mention the last website also was a Shopify website. Now, this was very different, and I know they're both Shopify websites. So, this client started out her business very freshly. She's very new and hasn't had any sales, and her business is also a drop shipping business compared to my previous client, which my client has been in business for several years and has already had a roaring revenue through her Etsy channel, which is why we moved her to Shopify. This is someone who was newer, who was starting out on their journey of selling online and having an e-commerce shop. So this is her website. I was able to find my client in a Facebook group. This was not a local Facebook group. This was just a woman in business Facebook group where I connect, and I typically give free advice or just try to make some connections in there with people and network. So I charged my client $1,000 for this project, which is very different compared to the previous quote that I just said. And this is because there were no integrations needed. There really was not much that was necessary compared to the other project. And one day maybe I can make a video on comparing scopes and going in depth as to why those are two different projects. But right now I'm really not going to do that. But we will go to the next project. Okay, and for the third website, I wanted to show you the Perfect Measuring Tape Company. They have been in business for several years, and this scope is very different because I did not design this website from the ground up. I was actually given this project through a referral, and my client needed help with things like ADA compliance and setting up an email integration pop-up and going through the CTAs, which are call to actions, making sure the site is fully optimized and fully sped up. So that was my job for this project, and I charged my client for these changes and for these updates. And again, we're not going to get too deep into the scope of it, but I was given to this project through a referral, and I charged my client $2,200 for this project. All right, guys, well, Thanks so much for tuning in and watching this video and looking at these projects with me. I really hope this was helpful, and I hope this can kind of give you some guidance on how you're going to charge your clients. I know things are not concrete, and charging a client really does depend on their business and where they're at, and also your schedule, what you're willing to work with, and also what level you're at as a freelancer. We're all at such different levels, so I also feel that if you are just starting out and are in need of building a portfolio, that should be more of your focus than thinking about what you're going to be billing your clients. And then once you build that portfolio, you can then take that next step into how are you going to quote your clients. So again, I really do think that this process is very different for everybody, but this was just my process and how my journey has been going so far, which is why I want to come on here and share this with you guys. So we're just here sharing each other's journeys on becoming freelancers and either expanding our business into agencies or sticking it as a solo entrepreneurial freelance business. Really just depends on what path everybody wants to go down. But again, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for sitting here till the end. And if you want to connect with me, or if you need help with any projects, you can email me. I will have my email in the description down below. But if you are looking to connect with me and talk about your freelance journey, we can connect on Twitter at Blakey Codes, and we can discuss some sort of plan if you're looking to get into one-to-one coaching with me. So thank you guys so much again, and all right, I'll see you guys soon.